Hey world, this is Mav22. I'm coming to you guys with a great book review. The author is Robert Greene. The book is called Mastery. This book was published about 2013. I actually read it once, but this time I studied and got some very informative, detailed information that I would love to share with you guys. Alright, this is part one of this review because of it being so much information. And that point that I'm sharing with you today is discovering your life's task. What is it that you want to do with your life? I'm going to give you 5 highlighted points on how to decide, or what strategies can help you discover that life's task. All right. In April 19, Leonardo da Vinci, at the age of 67, while laying on his deathbed, he began to reflect back to when he was a child. When he was 14, he snuck into his father's office and stole a sheet of paper, and he went to a secluded part of nature and began to sketch and paint out what was in front of him. He spent several hours doing it, and at that very point, he discovered his life's task for painting and for art. If you guys don't know Da Vinci, he's very famously known for his portrait of Jesus Christ and the disciples. And he was a military engineer and he was a writer, pretty much a jack of all trades. But taking that information from Da Vinci, he reflected back to when he was a child. And reflection is one of my highlighted points. If you go back to your childhood when you were young, you didn't have any responsibilities, you didn't have to pay any bills, you didn't take on the burden of the world at sometimes. What was it that you spent most of your time doing? What was it that captivated you? You kind of isolated the world when you got to this specific thing. That's another point. Highlight number 2 is to listen to your inner voice. Great masters in history have basically confessed that there's some type of force or a voice or a sense of destiny that has kind of guided them to do exactly what they're doing, that love that they have discovered. That sense of feeling sometimes can be described as purely mystical or beyond explanation, or kind of sort of a delusion, if you will. The next highlighted point is mental and emotional strategies to finding your life's task. Go back to your origin, who you truly are, the makeup of you. I think sometimes when we get tossed into the real world and we take on multiple of jobs, when you take a job, you have to, I guess, kind of act accordingly. If it's a customer service, you have to sound happy when you pick up the phone. You have to sound like you're going the extra mile to take care of that customer and to satisfy them. And that's probably not truly who we are. Sometimes we're just there for the money. But you have to go back to that origin and ask yourself, who am I truly? And another thing is you have to love that specific subject. Love what you're doing. And you have to have a profound connection with what it is that you're doing. The greatest thing about having a profound connection is that when you do something that you love in life, when your career or your job is something that you deeply love, you will never work a day in your entire life. All right, highlighted point number 4 is to occupy the perfect niche. As a child, Charles Darwin, he didn't play sports or do some of the usual activities that young boys would do. Instead, he locked himself in his room and read science books. Seashells was his perfect niche. He'd wander to the beach and, he'd examine seashells that was left on the shore and things like that. He had a great time, and he had a great time doing that, and he was very fascinated by it. In his school, no one knew the variety of seashells more than Darwin did. So that was a good I guess a good story that Robert put in there. Also, if your career is something like IT, what perfect niche do you desire to work in IT? Is it coding? Is it web design? Is it security systems? Whatever, you have to occupy that perfect niche. And the last one is the last highlighted point for discovering your life's task is to the avoid the false path. I'm gonna give you the words of Robert Greene for this one. Avoiding the false path is generally something we are attracted to for all the wrong reasons, whether that's money, fame, or seeking attention. The reason that you should avoid the false path is because that path does not correspond with our deepest inclination. It is unfulfilling and it will not be satisfaction to us in the long run. I thought those were great points. Remember the topic, my point was discovering your life's task. I'll kind of just do a recap of it. Number one was reflection. I gave you the example of Leonardo da Vinci. Number two is listen to your inner voice. The great masteries talked about a force and a sense of destiny that kind of guided them. Mental and emotional strategies to finding it. You have to go back to your origin, you have to have love for it and a profound connection. And number five is to avoid the false path. Don't do it just for the money. Don't do it just for the fame. Or don't do it to seek attention, because you will be unsatisfied in the long run. All right, guys, this is Mav22. Thank you for being a part of this first point. This is actually my first book review. Please comment at the bottom for those who have discovered their life's task. If you would please share what are some of the strategies that you went through to kind of discover it. Did you reflect back to when you were a child, or how did you newly discover something that you love to do? And if you guys have not discovered what you did, let's talk about it. Let's chat about it. I will read the comments and respond and have healthy conversations about it. Tune in very soon to my point number 2 of the book called Mastery by Robert Greene. Thank you, guys. This is Mav22. Peace.